This is about conflicting virtues. What would we possibly mean by that? Well, let's explore it together for a couple of minutes here. The virtue of patience, waiting for something, versus procrastination or failing to take the step, always pushing things down the line, not living in the moment. So, do I want instant gratification? Do I have to have it now every time I think about it? I act and get it? Or do I wait? And if I do that, am I no longer living in the present, but rather pushing things down the road? I guess you can see what I'm driving at here. And I think the way that we can reconcile this is really pretty easy. It's simply a matter of motivation. What's driving our decision? And really, fear is sort of the common denominator here both ways. If we insist on instant gratification, always getting what we want, when we want it, maybe even before we've thought it through completely, and possibly in spite of the fact that maybe we can't afford it, or we've already done this before, or maybe it's just a bad choice for some other reason, we need to ask ourselves, why are we doing that? And one possible and maybe even likely reason is because we're trying to put salve on a wound. We don't feel very good at the moment, and we think by getting that, whatever the diversion is, a thing, a trinket of some kind, whatever it is that we want to buy or instantly do, it may be simply to cover up the pain that we're going through in the present. That's not a good reason to instantly gratify ourselves, because we can get in trouble over time if it becomes habitual, and then some people do that. Not a good idea. On the other hand, if we're always pushing things off to tomorrow, the good part of that is that we're patient. We can wait until we can afford something, perhaps, or decide if we really, really want it. We might change our mind, especially if it's expensive or involves something significant, some change that would be hard to undo if we did it. So prudence is generally a good idea. On the other hand, if we're forever postponing decision making, that's a sign of fear also. Fear, perhaps, of making up our mind, of being divisive, or decisive, not divisive, decisive. We do that too much. It's a sign of low self confidence and the inability to take risk, even reasonable risks. And we're always having to do that in our lives. There is risk around every corner. It's simply a matter, in most circumstances, of evaluating that risk and seeing if the benefits far enough outweigh it to make the risk worthwhile. So there you have it. Fear, perhaps, of deciding things, and so we keep pushing them off to the future, or decide we're not worth it for some reason, and we never get what we deserve that way. On the other hand, instantly gratifying ourselves as a salve to cover up what we're going through at the moment, thinking that that instant gratification is going to solve our problems when it's not. The relief is almost always temporary. Explore your motives. When you're making a decision, know through really that introspection, that ability to look inward, whether it's time to wait or whether it's a good idea to act now, because this is the best opportunity and you do deserve a break. You don't always have to put things off for the future. Sometimes you do, though. A good share of the time you might, especially if the stakes are high. Be a good internal thinker so you can make the call correctly.